The pandemic has slightly slewed things, in as much as it's hard to spend as much time with the Queen.
Duchess Sophia had always understood the power of silence, the weight of a single decision, and the way a moment could send tremors through the most unshakable institutions. But on her 60th birthday, she didn't need words to make a statement. Her guest list did it for her. The grand halls of Bagshot Park had seen their fair share of royal gatherings, but this one was different. Every detail was curated with precision, and every invitation was sent with intention. It was meant to be a celebration of her legacy, a night of warmth among those she trusted. But one absence eclipsed every presence in the room. Queen Camilla was not invited, and the world took notice. It wasn't a scheduling conflict or a simple oversight. It wasn't a diplomatic error waiting to be corrected. This was deliberate, a calculated move designed to send a message not just to Camilla but to the entire royal family. Those within the palace walls had long whispered about the tension between the two women, but now it was no longer hidden in stolen glances or quiet avoidance. This was bold, public, and undeniable. The Queen Consort had been shut out, not from an ordinary event, but from a milestone, a moment in royal history. And the question lingered like a storm cloud over the celebration. Why? The moment the guest list was confirmed, the leak was inevitable. Royal insiders had always thrived on scandal, and this was the kind of revelation that fueled endless speculation. The whispers spread like wildfire. Was this revenge? A power play? A final act of defiance? The media pounced, headlines dissecting every possibility. Some argued it was the culmination of years of tension, a rivalry that had long been whispered about but never confirmed. Others claimed it was an attempt by Sophia to solidify her place in the royal hierarchy, a last stand against the woman she had never fully accepted. Either way, the impact was immediate. The monarchy had endured decades of betrayals, scandals, and public scrutiny, but even now, this felt personal. Inside the palace, the absence was deafening. The other guests might have feigned ignorance, but they all knew the significance. Sophia, ever composed, carried on as if nothing were amiss. She greeted dignitaries, exchanged pleasantries, and ensured that her celebration remained the intimate, refined affair she had envisioned. But behind the poised smiles and the laughter, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Even those closest to her wondered what this meant for the future. A move like this wasn't without consequences. Camilla wasn't just another royal, she was queen. And snubbing her wasn't a passive decision. It was a declaration of war, but this wasn't a last-minute impulse or a petty slight. This wasn't about a single event, a fleeting disagreement, or a misunderstanding that could be brushed aside with a diplomatic apology. This was years in the making, a slow-burning conflict that had reached its breaking point. Because behind Sophia's carefully curated elegance and Camilla's hardened resilience, there was a history that neither woman could ever truly escape. And now, with one move, Sophia had made it clear she was done pretending. The question wasn't just why she had done it. The real question was, what would happen next? Royal families are built on tradition, bound by duty, and upheld by carefully crafted images of unity. But behind the sea-closed doors of the monarchy, where whispers carry more weight than proclamations, power is a game of survival, and in that game few rivalries have been as unspoken, yet as potent, as the one between Duchess Sophia and Queen Camilla. From the moment Sophia stepped into the royal world, she was everything Camilla was not. Poised, polished, effortlessly accepted. Where Camilla had fought tooth and nail for approval, Sophia had waltzed through the palace gates with the quiet elegance of a woman who needed no validation. Perhaps that was the problem, because while Camilla had spent years battling scandal, public disdain, and royal disapproval, Sophia was welcomed with open arms. It didn't take long for the comparisons to begin. The press, always thirsty for division, painted them as opposites in every way. Sophia, the dignified, scandal-free Duchess who had earned Queen Elizabeth's trust almost immediately, and Camilla, the controversial outsider who had clawed her way to the throne through years of public scrutiny. The narrative was set. The stage was drawn. In a family where perception meant everything, these two women had been placed on opposite sides of an unspoken war. Camilla had spent decades trying to reshape her image. Her past with Prince Charles, the lingering shadow of Princess Diana, the relentless judgment of a public that had refused to forget she had carried it all. Every appearance, every carefully worded statement, every act of charity was another attempt to rewrite her story, to erase the scandal that had defined her for so long. And just when it seemed she was making progress, Sophia arrived. It wasn't just that Sophia was liked, it was how easily she was liked. She didn't have to prove herself. She didn't have to fight for approval. She simply had it. Queen Elizabeth took to her immediately, treating her as a trusted confidant, a stark contrast to the years of hesitation Camilla had endured. The Queen's approval carried weight, and for a monarchy still recovering from decades of controversy, Sophia represented a breath of fresh air. She was graceful, scandal-free, and above all, untarnished. For Camilla, it was a painful reminder of everything she had never been allowed to have. She had been forced to earn every inch of acceptance. Even after marrying Charles, her position had never been secure. The world had scrutinized her every move, every expression, every slight deviation from the image of a queen consort they had never truly wanted. And now, there was Sophia, the woman who had walked into the same world and been handed everything Camilla had spent a lifetime chasing. They never spoke of it. There were no open arguments, no public conflicts, no confrontations. But anyone who paid attention could see it, the unspoken tension, the deliberate distance, the careful avoidance of warm interactions. The way Camilla would glance away when Sophia entered a room, the way Sophia's conversations with Queen Elizabeth seemed just a bit more animated, a bit more comfortable, while Camilla stood by, silent. It was a battle fought in the quiet moments, in the glances exchanged across grand halls, in the careful, measured words spoken at formal engagements. They played their roles well, the polished Duchess and the seasoned Queen Consort. But beneath it all, one truth remained undeniable. Camilla had fought for her place in the monarchy, but Sophia had never had to, and that was a wound no title could ever heal. But their silent rivalry didn't stop at royal appearances, it extended into their personal beliefs and legacies. Before she was queen consort, before the crown legitimized her place in history, Camilla was the most controversial woman in Britain. Her name was whispered with scandal, written in bold headlines and etched into the most infamous chapter of the royal family's turbulent past. For decades, she was the woman in the shadows, the unwelcome figure in a fairy tale that wasn't hers to claim. And yet, against all odds, she endured. Her story didn't begin with Diana, though the world often remembers it that way. Camilla and Charles had a history, long before the people's princess ever entered the picture. They met in the early 1970s, two souls drawn together by a shared love of horses, country life, and conversation that never seemed to run dry. Camilla was charming, confident, and refreshingly unpretentious, qualities that captivated Charles from the moment they spoke, but the weight of tradition was heavier than desire. For a future king, love was never simple. Royal marriages were not merely romantic unions, they were strategic and meticulously planned to uphold the dynasty. And Camilla, despite her aristocratic background, was deemed unsuitable. She was not the untouched, ideal bride that the palace demanded. So, Charles was sent away on naval duty, and Camilla was swiftly married off to another man. But separation did not break their bond, it only made it more dangerous. Even as Charles returned and was pressured into marrying the young and beautiful Lady Diana Spencer, his heart had never truly left Camilla. And soon the world would find out. The affair that followed became one of the greatest scandals in royal history. Secret meetings, hushed phone calls, stolen moments that would eventually be exposed in the most humiliating way possible. When Diana, heartbroken and betrayed, famously declared, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded," the damage was done. The illusion shattered. The monarchy had never seen such a public reckoning, and Camilla bore the brunt of the backlash. The public despised her. She was the villain, the homewrecker, the woman who had stolen Britain's beloved princess's happiness. No title, no royal decree could erase the stain of betrayal. Even after Diana's tragic death, the resentment did not fade. Camilla and Charles remained together, but the world refused to forget. For years, she was forced into the background, lingering just beyond the edges of public acceptance. And in the royal household, her presence was no less controversial. There were those who would never fully embrace her, and Duchess Sophia was one of them. Deeply loyal to Queen Elizabeth, Sophia had always upheld the dignity and traditions of the monarchy. To her, the past was not just a series of mistakes. It was a stain on the institution she had sworn to protect. She had watched as Camilla slowly crept into the royal fold, as public perception was carefully rewritten, as the years softened what had once been an unforgivable betrayal. But Sophia never forgot. and she never accepted. But it wasn't just about the past. Camilla's actions as queen consort only fueled Sophia's resentment further. In royal circles, influence isn't just about titles, it's about who gives more. Power isn't measured in words but in actions, in the hands shaken, the funds raised, and the causes championed. And when it came to charity, Duchess Sophia and Queen Camilla were locked in a battle that neither could afford to lose. Sophia had understood the weight of philanthropy from the very beginning. It wasn't just about goodwill, it was about legacy. While others basked in the luxury of their titles, she worked. Her foundation wasn't built on lavish galas or grand speeches, it was hands-on, personal, and relentless. She didn't just sign checks, she showed up. Schools, hospitals, war-torn regions, she went where she was needed, not where the cameras were, and the world took notice. Camilla, on the other hand, had a different approach. She too had causes she cared about: literacy, domestic abuse, healthcare. But her efforts were often overshadowed by her past, her reputation, and the unforgiving scrutiny of the public. No matter how much she gave, there was always the lingering question: was it enough to erase the scars of history? The media, ever eager to pit royals against each other, didn't make it easier. Sophia was the golden standard, and Camilla was forever trying to catch up. Every charity event Camilla attended, every speech she delivered, and every fundraising campaign she spearheaded was always met with comparison. And, more often than not, Sophia came out on top. It wasn't just about generosity, it was about perception. Sophia's causes were seen as pure, untainted by controversy. Camilla's, however, were often met with skepticism. Was she truly devoted to these causes, or was this just another attempt at redemption? For every child Sophia embraced, every struggling community she uplifted, Camilla's efforts seemed rehearsed in comparison. And yet neither woman ever acknowledged the rivalry. They smiled for the cameras, stood side by side at events, and exchanged polite words in public. But behind closed doors, the tension was unmistakable. The battle for influence wasn't fought with words. It was fought in the numbers, in the headlines, in the quiet victories neither would admit to chasing. But when Camilla became queen consort, everything changed, including the way she exercised power. With power comes control. But Camilla's choices angered Sophia in ways no one expected. For years, Sophia had watched from the sidelines, playing her role with unwavering dignity, never overstepping, never questioning the hierarchy that ruled their world. But the moment Queen Elizabeth took her last breath, everything changed. The monarchy had lost its strongest pillar, and in the vacuum of her absence, Camilla rose not just as queen consort, but as a force determined to shape the future of the royal family in her image. Sophia had always known that change was inevitable, but some traditions were sacred, some legacies were never meant to be erased, and yet Camilla, with her newfound authority, seemed determined to do just that. It started with whispers, small adjustments, and quiet decisions that signaled a power shift. But then came the decision that Sophia could neither ignore nor forgive. Queen Elizabeth had loved many things, but nothing more than her racehorses. They weren't just animals, they were symbols of her passion, her private escape from the burdens of the throne. She had spent years breeding them, caring for them, ensuring their legacy would outlive her reign. And yet, in the months following her passing, Camilla, the woman who had fought her whole life to be accepted within the monarchy, made a decision that left the royal family stunned. She sold them, not a few, not a select number, but dozens. To the world, it was a financial decision, a necessary step in modernizing the monarchy. But to those who had been closest to the Queen, it was an insult, a betrayal. Sophia was livid. This wasn't just about horses. This was about legacy, about respect, about preserving the things Queen Elizabeth had cherished. And yet, Camilla had discarded them like they meant nothing. It was a move that confirmed what Sophia had suspected all along. Camilla's reign would not be about preserving the past. It would be about rewriting it. For Sophia, this was the final straw. Their quiet rivalry had stretched across decades, their differences always lingering beneath the surface. But this time, it wasn't just tension. It was war. The frustration had been building for months, simmering beneath the polished veneer of royal decorum. But as her 60th birthday approached, Sophia found herself at a breaking point. Camilla had ignored the unspoken rules of the monarchy, so why should she follow them? Then came the moment that stunned the royal family. Sophia made a bold move. When Camilla heard she was banned, she was furious, but she had a plan. The Queen Consort of England, the woman who had clawed her way through decades of scandal and scrutiny to secure her place at the top, had just been publicly humiliated by someone she had long considered beneath her. It wasn't just a slight, it was a declaration. Duchess Sophia had made it clear Camilla was not welcome, and for a woman who had spent her entire life fighting for her seat at the royal table, this was unacceptable. The news came from an unlikely source, a royal advisor, someone who believed in keeping the peace. He had approached Sophia with a suggestion that Camilla should be on the guest list, not just out of tradition, but out of respect. After all, she was queen consort. But Sophia's answer was swift and unapologetic: no. There was no negotiation and no careful wording to soften the rejection. It was a flat refusal, one that sent a clear message through the palace halls. Camilla had no place in her celebration. The queen consort's presence would not be tolerated, and that was that. For Camilla, the insult was unbearable. For years, she had been the one fighting against exclusion. She had endured the whispers, the disapproving glances, the relentless comparisons to Diana. Even after marrying Charles, she had never been fully accepted, not by the public, not by the queen, not even by the inner circle of the royal family. And now, just when she had finally secured her title, just when she had cemented her role as queen consort, Sophia had dared to treat her as an outsider once again. She raged behind closed doors, furious that a duchess, a mere duchess, dared to deny her entry. And for a brief, reckless moment, she considered crashing the party. It would be the ultimate power move. She would walk into Bagshot Park, head held high as if Sophia's decision meant nothing. She would remind everyone that she was not just a guest to be invited, but the queen consort of England. It wasn't about attending the party anymore, it was about dominating it. But the palace was already stirring. The whispers had begun. A scandal was brewing, and the media had caught the scent. Leaks spread like wildfire. Had Sophia truly banned Camilla? Was there a deeper rift in the royal family than anyone had realized? Headlines speculated about a power struggle between the two women, an unspoken war playing out behind royal walls. Sophia remained silent, unbothered. Camilla, however, was drowning in the pressure. Would she let this go, or would she strike back? But when the night arrived, tensions hit an all-time high. What happened next was shocking. The stage was set for a dramatic royal confrontation. But did Camilla dare to show up? The anticipation hung thick in the air, a silent undercurrent running beneath the polished elegance of Duchess Sophia's grand birthday celebration. Every guest in attendance knew what had been left unsaid. The queen consort had been banned, not omitted, not forgotten, but deliberately excluded. And yet, no one could ignore the possibility that she might defy expectations. After all, Camilla had spent her entire life fighting for her place in the monarchy. Would Shy let this slight go unanswered? As guests arrived at Bagshot Park, their curiosity was barely concealed beneath the practiced smiles and refined conversation. Eyes darted toward the entrance, waiting for a spectacle that would shake the monarchy to its core. Would Camilla walk through those doors, unannounced and unapologetic, staking her claim with the sheer force of her presence? Or would she make her absence a statement of its own, wielding silence like a dagger in response to Sophia's calculated snub? Behind the scenes, royal aides were on high alert. Every movement was monitored, every whisper scrutinized. A secret crisis team had been assembled, prepared for anything, yet certain of nothing. They had been briefed on what to do if Camilla arrived uninvited. Would they allow her through, risking an explosive confrontation, or would they be forced to do the unthinkable and turn away the queen consort of England? It was a delicate dance, a test of power and perception. No one wanted to make the wrong move. But Sophia, she remained unfazed. She greeted her guests with effortless grace, raised her glass in quiet triumph, and enjoyed her night as if nothing were amiss. There was no tension in her posture, no uncertainty in her demeanor. She had made her decision and she wasn't looking back. If Camilla dared to crash her party, so be it. But Sophia knew one truth that many had yet to accept. Real power isn't just about who enters the room. It's about who controls it. And at this moment, in this celebration, Camilla had already lost. As the evening progressed and the suspense continued to build, the answer became clear. Camilla never arrived. No dramatic entrance, no last-minute show of defiance. She had chosen absence over confrontation. But was that an act of retreat, or the beginning of something far more dangerous? Because this feud isn't just about one night. It could change royal relationships forever. One birthday snub has left the royal family shaken, and the consequences could be lasting. What was supposed to be a private moment of celebration for Duchess Sophia had become something much bigger. A shift in power, a public declaration, a battle line drawn. The monarchy had weathered scandals, betrayals, and rifts before, but this was different. This wasn't just personal, it was political. And now, the question hung over Buckingham Palace like a storm cloud. Would King Charles intervene? For years, Charles had fought to hold the family together, to repair the damage done by the past. He had seen division tear at the monarchy before, and he knew the dangers of letting resentment fester. If he stepped in, it would mean acknowledging the cracks within his inner circle, something no monarch wanted to do. But if he remained silent, he risked allowing the feud between Sophia and Camilla to grow into something irreparable. Would he attempt to force reconciliation? Or would he stand by as the family splintered once again? Beyond the palace walls, the public had already chosen sides. Some saw Sophia's move as an act of defiance, a rare show of strength against a woman they had never fully accepted. To them, Sophia represented tradition, a member of the royal family who had earned her place without controversy or scandal. But others saw it differently. To ban the Queen Consort was to challenge the monarchy itself. No matter how personal the history, no matter how deep the tensions ran, Camilla was the wife of the king, and in the eyes of many that made her untouchable. The press, always hungry for royal drama, had found its latest obsession. Was this the beginning of a deeper divide? Would Camilla retaliate? Would Sophia pay a price for her defiance? Royal experts speculated endlessly, each with their theories, their sources whispering about the growing unease behind palace doors. No one knew for sure how this would end, but one thing was clear: this feud was far from over. One moment, one invitation withheld, had set something in motion that could not be undone. Sophia had made her move, and Camilla had chosen silence. But silence was never the end of a battle, it was only the beginning. One thing is certain, the tension in the royal family has never been higher. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.